I never thought my own daughters would leave me alone in a nursing home on Christmas Eve, telling me it was temporary while they sorted things out. The pain cut deeper than anything I'd ever felt. But sometimes, when you hit rock bottom, that's exactly when fate decides to throw you a rope. That crumpled lottery ticket I'd stuffed in my coat pocket wasn't just some random piece of paper. It was going to become my ticket to a whole new life, and the wake-up call my daughters would never, ever forget. But hey, before we get into this crazy story, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I love seeing how many of you are following along with these stories. My name is Margaret. I'm 72 years old, and about 7 months ago, my whole world just fell apart. After my husband William died, I kept living in our house, the one we'd built together over 40 years of marriage. It wasn't fancy or anything, but it had everything that mattered. Love in every corner, memories hanging on the walls, and a little garden out back that I tended to like it was my baby. I should have known something was wrong when my 2 daughters, Emily and Sophia, started showing up more often. At first I was actually happy about it, you know? Emily would come over with her husband Michael and their teenage son Noah. Sophia would swing by with her husband, David, but every single visit ended the same way. Them, going on and on about how I was getting older, how the house was too big for just me, how worried they were about me being alone. Mom, what if you fall and nobody's there? They'd say, looking all concerned. What if something happens in the middle of the night? I kept telling them I was perfectly fine, that I could take care of myself. I'd show them my garden, immaculate, by the way, as proof that I wasn't some helpless old lady. But they'd just exchange these looks, like they knew something I didn't. I pretended not to notice. Here's the thing I never told them about: the money. William and we saved our whole lives. When he passed, he left me with a life insurance policy that set me up real comfortable. The girls never asked about finances, and I never brought it up. Looking back now, maybe that was my first mistake. The week before Christmas, Emily showed up at my door alone. She was all smiles, talking about how we were going to spend Christmas Eve together. How wonderful it would be to have the whole family under one roof. "We'll pick you up tomorrow." "Mom," she said, practically bouncing with excitement, "dress nice. We've got a special surprise planned for you." I was thrilled, honestly. After spending last Christmas alone, the idea of being with my family again just filled my heart with joy. I packed a small overnight bag, some clothes, my blood pressure meds, this old photo of William and me from our wedding day, and I put on my favorite blue cardigan, the one William gave me on our last anniversary together. When Emily pulled up the next day with Michael, something felt off immediately. Noah wasn't with them. There were no Christmas decorations in the car. Emily seemed nervous, talking way too fast, not looking me in the eye. Still, I got in the car, trusting that my own daughter wouldn't lie to me. The drive was quiet. Too quiet. I didn't recognize where we were going. We passed through downtown, then through neighborhoods I'd never really visited before. Finally, we stopped in front of this brick building with a small sign out front. Peaceful Haven Senior Care. My heart just dropped. "Emily, what are we doing here?" My voice came out shaky. She took this deep breath like she was preparing herself. "Mom, we talked about this. You can't live alone anymore. They're going to take really good care of you here." "We never talked about this." I could feel my hands trembling. "You said we were spending Christmas together." Michael jumped in, giving me this fake smile. "And we will, Margaret. We'll come visit tomorrow, on Christmas Day. We even brought some gifts for you. You're going to love it here. They've got activities, people your own age." I felt like I couldn't breathe. The betrayal was so complete, so cold, that I couldn't even cry. I just stared at Emily, my firstborn, the little girl I'd rocked to sleep every night, and I didn't recognize her. "Please don't do this," I whispered. "I can take care of myself. I have my home." Emily's jaw tightened. "The house is too much for you, Mom. Sophia and I already agreed. The best thing is to sell it. The money will help pay for this place and cover our expenses for handling everything." That's when it hit me like a punch to the gut. This wasn't about my safety. This was about money, my house. "My savings. You can't sell my house," I said firmly. "It's in my name." Michael and Emily exchanged this quick look. Then Emily said, real soft, "Actually, Mom, you already signed it over to us. Remember 3 weeks ago when we brought those insurance papers for you to update? The house transfer was in there. I vaguely remembered signing some documents. Emily had said it was just routine stuff, updating beneficiaries on William's old policies. I trusted my daughters. I never thought I'd need to read every word of papers my own children brought me. "You tricked me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "My own daughters." "It's for your own good, Mom," Emily insisted, already opening her car door. "Come on, let's get you checked in." I got out of that car like I was in a dream. A bad dream. The December wind was freezing, but I felt numb all over. Inside my chest, this emptiness was just spreading, swallowing everything. Michael grabbed my little suitcase from the trunk while Emily held my arm like she was afraid I might run away. At the front desk, this middle-aged woman smiled at us, one of those professional smiles that doesn't reach the eyes. "Welcome to Peaceful Haven. Mrs. Margaret, we've been expecting you." Emily filled out forms while I stood there in silence. What was there to say? When she finished, she turned to me with this forced smile. "All set, Mom. Everything's taken care of." "We'll see you tomorrow, I promise," I didn't respond. She kissed my forehead quickly. Michael waved from a distance, and then they were gone. They just walked out, got back in their warm car, and drove away, leaving me behind like a piece of furniture they didn't want anymore. The staff lady led me down a long hallway to a small room with 2 beds. The other bed had someone sleeping in it, snoring softly. "This is your bed, Mrs. Margaret. Dinner's at 6. If you need anything, just press that button on the wall." When she left, I sat on the edge of that hard bed, still clutching my purse like it was the only thing anchoring me to reality. Through the window, I could see snow starting to fall. It was Christmas Eve, and I was completely alone, abandoned, betrayed. That's when I remembered it, the lottery ticket. Last week, when I'd gone to the grocery store to buy ingredients for Christmas cookies that nobody was going to eat, the cashier had talked me into buying a ticket for the special holiday lottery drawing. "You look like a lucky lady," he'd said with a grin. Now, with shaking hands, I pulled that wrinkled ticket from my coat pocket. It was just a stupid piece of paper, but it was the last decision I'd made completely on my own before my daughters took control of my whole life. I put it back in my pocket, deciding I'd check it later when they announced the winning numbers. That night, lying in a strange bed, listening to my unknown roommate breathe, I cried quietly into my pillow. Not about the house, not about the money, about the betrayal. About how easily my own children had erased 40 years of love and sacrifice. About how William would have been heartbroken to see what his daughters had become. I fell asleep thinking about my husband, wishing he was there to hold me, to tell me everything would be okay. But William was gone, and I was alone. The next morning, Christmas morning, I woke up to the sound of a TV playing in the common room. A few residents were gathered there watching the morning news. I didn't want to join them, but I also didn't want to be alone with my dark thoughts. I shuffled in, trying not to look as miserable as I felt. An older man patted the spot next to him on the couch. "First Christmas here, huh? I can see it all over your face," he said kindly. "It gets better. Or at least you get used to it," I nodded, not trusting my voice. On the TV, the news anchor was showing all these happy families opening presents. Kids screaming with joy, decorated trees sparkling in living rooms. Every image was like a knife twisting in my heart. Then the programming changed, and now the moment everyone's been waiting for, the results from last night's special holiday lottery drawing. The anchor announced cheerfully. Almost by instinct, I reached into my pocket and pulled out that ticket. I had zero hope, really, but at least it gave me something to focus on, besides the pain. I smoothed out the wrinkled paper as the numbers started being called on screen. First number, 08. I looked at my ticket. That was my first number. Coincidence, I thought. Second number, 17, also on my ticket. Third number, 25. Fourth, 33. Fifth, 42. Sixth, 58. My breath caught in my throat. I stared at the ticket, then at the TV screen, then back at the ticket. This couldn't be real. It just couldn't be possible. The winning ticket was purchased right here in the city, the anchor continued. And the grand prize is $5 million. $5 million. Every single number matched. The ticket was bought in my city. On the date shown on my crumpled ticket, my whole body started shaking. The man next to me noticed. "Ma'am, you okay? You look like you're about to faint." I couldn't speak. I just showed him the ticket, my hand trembling so bad I could barely hold it. His eyes went wide as he checked the numbers against the screen. "Oh my God," he whispered. "You won. You actually won the lottery." The room started spinning. Me, Margaret, 72 years old, abandoned in a nursing home on Christmas. Eve by my own daughters, I was now a millionaire. The irony was so insane, I almost laughed. Almost. The old man, I later learned his name was Oliver, was the first to really snap into action. "We gotta protect this," he said quietly, helping me fold the ticket carefully. "And we need to tell the people who run this place. You can't just keep something like this in your pocket without security." I nodded, still in total shock. Oliver called over one of the staff members, a young woman named Ava, and explained what happened. At first, she thought we were confused. You know, typical old people getting things mixed up. But then she looked at my ticket, checked the numbers on her phone, and her jaw literally dropped. "Holy crap," she muttered. "This is real. She really won." The next few hours were a blur. The director of Peaceful Haven was called. Documents were signed. Phone calls were made. Someone from the National Lottery showed up at the nursing home to verify my ticket and confirm it was authentic. "We'll need you to come to the lottery. Headquarters tomorrow to start the claiming. Process," she explained professionally. "Bring your ID and any documents you have. We'll make sure everything's handled correctly." I just nodded, still numb from the shock. The director, who'd barely looked at me when I arrived yesterday, was suddenly super friendly and helpful. "Mrs. Margaret, we can provide transportation, security, whatever you need. We want to make sure you're safe and comfortable." I looked at him, seeing right through the fake kindness. Yesterday I was just some abandoned old lady. Today I was a valuable client worth $5 million. "Thank you," I said coldly. "But I've got help." I looked at Oliver, who nodded in silent agreement. He understood what nobody else seemed to see. This wasn't really about the money. It was about getting back the dignity that had been stolen from me. Meanwhile, word was spreading fast. The local press found out that the winning ticket belonged to an elderly woman who'd just been placed in a nursing home. Reporters started calling. By noon, there was actually a news van parked outside. A young reporter managed to get inside and found me in the common room. "Mrs. Margaret, I'm Jessica from Channel 5 News. We'd love to interview you about your incredible luck, winning the lottery on Christmas Day." My first thought was to say no. I've never liked being the center of attention. But then I thought about Emily and Sophia. I thought about how comfortable they probably were right now, maybe even celebrating in my house, toasting to their success in getting rid of their inconvenient mother. "Yes," I heard myself say. "I'll do the interview. But I want to tell the whole story." Jessica looked thrilled. They quickly set up a little area with lights and a camera. I sat in the chair they offered, holding that winning ticket in my hands. "We're going live in 3, 2, 1. The cameraman counted down. "We're here at Peaceful Haven Senior Care with Mrs. Margaret Thompson, the grand winner of last night's special holiday lottery drawing," Jessica began enthusiastically. "Mrs. Margaret, how are you feeling about this amazing win?" I took a breath. "I'm feeling a lot of things, Jessica. Mainly because yesterday, on Christmas Eve, my daughters brought me to this nursing home against my will. They told me we were celebrating Christmas together. Instead, they checked me in here and informed me they're selling my house, the home I built with my late husband over 40 years, to pay for this place. They tricked me into signing legal documents transferring my property to them." Jessica's smile faltered. You could see she realized this was way bigger than just a feel-good lottery story. "Are you saying you were abandoned here by your own children?" "Exactly," I confirmed, feeling this strength building inside me. "They deceived me, took my home, and left me here on Christmas Eve like I was garbage they needed to throw away." I held up the lottery ticket to the camera. "I bought this last week before I knew what my daughters were planning. It was in my coat pocket when they abandoned me here. This morning, I watched the drawing on TV and found out I won $5 million. "This is extraordinary," Jessica said, clearly struggling to find the right words. "What are you planning to do now?" I thought for a second before answering. First, I'm going to get my house and my dignity back. After that? Well, let's just say I've got plans to make sure other seniors don't go through what I'm going through right now. The camera kept rolling as I told the whole story. How I was tricked, how my daughters planned everything, how I felt when I realized what was happening. I didn't cry, not once. I spoke clearly and firmly, looking straight into that camera. You mentioned your daughters, Jessica said carefully. Do they know you won the lottery? I shook my head. Not yet, but I'm sure they're watching right now. I looked directly into the camera lens. Emily, Sophia, I hope you're enjoying Christmas in my house. Make the most of it, because things are about to change real fast. When the interview ended, Jessica squeezed my hand. Mrs. Margaret, your story is incredible. If you need anything at all, please call us. I thanked her and watched the news crew pack up, knowing my message was being broadcast across the whole city, including into the living room of my house, where my daughters were probably frozen in shock right about now. I didn't have to wait long to find out. Less than an hour after that interview aired, my cell phone, which Emily hadn't bothered taking from me, probably so she could call and check if I was adjusting well, started ringing like crazy. Emily's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. Then she called again, and again. Then Sophia started calling. Text messages started flooding in. Mom, we need to talk. Please answer. It's not what you think. We're coming there right now. Mom, please. Let us explain. I turned off the phone and put it back in my purse. They didn't deserve my attention right now. Not after what they did. Oliver came over and sat beside me. I think you just caused quite the storm, he said with a little smile. They deserve way more than a storm, I replied, feeling lighter than I had in days. They deserve to understand what it's like to be betrayed by someone who's supposed to love you. Around 4 p.m, Emily and Sophia burst through the doors of Peaceful Haven. I was in the common room playing cards with Oliver and 2 other residents when they came rushing in, followed by the director trying to calm them down. Mom! Emily's face was bright red. What did you do? Why would you give that interview? Why didn't you answer our calls? I calmly put my cards down on the table. Good afternoon, Emily. Merry Christmas. What a surprise that you came to visit. I thought you'd be too busy enjoying my house. Mom? Sophia cut in, using that soft voice she always uses when she wants to manipulate me. You misunderstood everything. We never wanted to hurt you. We just wanted what's best for you. What's best for me, I repeated, feeling the anger I'd been holding back finally start to surface. Tricking me into signing away my house? Dumping me in a nursing home against my will on Christmas Eve? Taking everything I had? That was what's best for me? You need proper care, Emily insisted. You can't live alone anymore. That house is too big, too much work. That's a lie, and you know it, I shot back. I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. You wanted the house. You wanted the money. You just wanted to get rid of the burden I'd become. Well, congratulations. Mission accomplished. You just didn't count on me winning $5 million, did you? The silence that followed was deafening. The other residents were watching with barely hidden interest. Oliver stayed right beside me, a silent show of support. Mom, Sophia finally spoke, her voice almost a whisper. Let's go home. We can work this out as a family. Which home, Sophia? I asked. The one you stole from me? We didn't steal anything. Emily protested. You signed the papers voluntarily. Papers you told me were for updating insurance beneficiaries, I corrected her. That's called fraud, Emily. I may be old, but I'm not stupid. Mom, please. Sophia tried to take my hand. I pulled away. Please what? You won $5 million. It's a Christmas miracle. Let's celebrate together, as a family. I looked at her, at that face that looked so much like mine, at those eyes she got from her father, and all I felt was sadness. Family? I said quietly. You stopped being my family the moment you abandoned me in this place. We didn't abandon you. Emily's voice was rising now. We came to visit today, didn't we? After you found out about the lottery, I corrected. Funny how money changes everything, isn't it? The director, who'd been watching this whole scene with growing discomfort, finally stepped in. Perhaps it would be best to continue this conversation somewhere private. I can offer my office. That won't be necessary, I interrupted, standing up. I have nothing more to say to my daughters right now. Tomorrow, I'll be going to the lottery headquarters to collect my prize. And after that, I'll be meeting with my lawyer to reverse the fraudulent transfer of my house. Mom, please. Emily looked desperate now. We can work this out. We're family. Family doesn't abandon family on Christmas Eve, I replied simply. You made your choice yesterday. Now you're gonna have to live with the consequences. I walked down the hallway toward my room, feeling their stares on my back, hearing Sophia start to cry and Emily arguing with the director. For the first time since arriving at this place, I walked with my head held high. Not as a victim anymore, but as someone who'd finally taken her power back. In my room, I sat on the bed and let myself have one single tear. Not of sadness, but of relief. The worst part was over. The betrayal, the shock, the helplessness, all of it was behind me now. From here on out, I was in control again. And that $5 million? I already knew exactly what I was going to do with it. My daughters thought they were getting rid of a useless old woman. They had no idea they'd just created their worst enemy. The morning after Christmas dawned cold and clear. I woke up early before the sun was fully up, my mind already racing with thoughts and plans. I'd turned my phone back on and found literally dozens of missed calls and messages, all from Emily and Sophia, all ignored. At 9 o'clock sharp, there was a gentle knock on my door. It was Ava, the young caregiver. Mrs. Margaret, there's a lawyer at the front desk asking for you. Says you called him? I smiled. Yes, thank you. I'll be right out. The night before, after my daughters finally left, not without trying a few more emotional manipulations, I'd asked Oliver to let me use his phone. I called a number I'd memorized years ago, James Harrison, the lawyer who'd handled all of William's and my legal affairs over the years. He'd answered right away, shocked to hear my voice, and even more shocked when I told him where I was and what had happened. I'll be there tomorrow at 9, he'd promised without hesitation, and there he was, right on time. James looked exactly the same, silver hair neatly combed, expensive suit, leather briefcase. When he saw me, though, his professional expression melted into genuine concern. Margaret, he said, taking both my hands in his. I saw you on the news yesterday. I could hardly believe it. How are you holding up? I'm surviving, I replied. Thank you for coming so quickly. You should have called me the second this happened, he said, a gentle scolding in his tone. You know I've always been available to you. I was in shock, I admitted. And honestly, I was ashamed. I never imagined my own daughters would— You don't need to explain, he interrupted kindly. I'm here now, and we're going to fix everything. First, we need to get to the lottery office and claim that prize. After that, we've got work to do. I nodded, feeling safer already just having him there. James got us a taxi, refusing the director's offer to use the facility's van, and we headed to the National Lottery headquarters. On the way, he explained the plan. I've already reviewed the documents you described signing. If you genuinely believed they were insurance papers, we've got a solid fraud case. We'll reverse that house transfer, no question. As for the lottery money, I'm going to make sure it goes into a secure account that only you can access. At the lottery office, we were treated like VIPs. My story had already made the rounds, the abandoned grandmother who won the lottery. The staff seemed eager to help, to be part of what they saw as a heartwarming story. I signed the necessary paperwork, showed my ID, verified the ticket one final time. Within a few hours, it was official. I was $5 million richer. The funds will be available in your account within 48 hours, the lottery president explained, with this huge smile. Congratulations, Mrs. Margaret. A happy ending to a terrible situation. It's not the ending, I replied, exchanging a look with James. It's just the beginning. As we left the building, we found reporters waiting outside. The story had spread even further overnight. Camera flashes went off. Questions were shouted from every direction. James, being the excellent lawyer he was, took control immediately. Mrs. Margaret Thompson appreciates everyone's interest, but she won't be making any statements at this time. We're focused on correcting the injustices committed against her and ensuring her future security. Thank you. He guided me quickly to a car he'd called, and we drove away, Not back to Peaceful Haven, but to a hotel downtown. You're not going back there, he declared firmly. Starting today, you're staying somewhere safe and comfortable until we sort out the situation with your house. At the hotel, while James checked me into a beautiful suite, I caught sight of the lobby TV. My face was plastered across the screen with sensational headlines. Abandoned grandma wins lottery. Karma strikes back. Ungrateful daughters get what they deserve. It made me uncomfortable. I didn't want this to be some revenge spectacle. I just wanted my dignity back. In my hotel room, James opened his briefcase and got straight to work. Phone calls were made, documents drafted, strategies outlined. Around lunchtime, his phone rang. He answered, his expression turning serious. "It's your daughters," he said, covering the phone. "They're at my office with my partner, trying to clarify the situation." I took a deep breath. "Put it on speaker." Emily's voice came through, tight with anxiety. "Mom, we're here with Mr. Harrison's colleague. We really need to talk. This whole thing is just a huge misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" I repeated. "Is that what you call tricking your mother, stealing her house, and abandoning her on Christmas Eve?" "We were worried about you." Sophia chimed in, her voice thick with tears. "You were all alone in that big house. What if something happened and nobody was there to help?" "Lies," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the pain. "If you were really worried, you would have talked to me honestly. You would have given me choices. Instead, you lied to me, manipulated me, and threw me away like trash." "Mom, please." Sophia's voice cracked. "Let's talk face to face. We can fix this as a family." "As a family," I echoed. "You know what? Fine, we can talk. But it'll be through our lawyers." "That's it. Is this about the money?" Emily asked, and I could hear the irritation creeping into her voice. "You won the lottery, and now suddenly you think you don't need us anymore?" The question shocked me with its sheer hypocrisy. "No, Emily, this is about betrayal. The money just gave me the means to fight back against what you did to me," James stepped in. "Ladies, I suggest you hire legal representation. We'll be filing to nullify the property transfer based on fraud and deception. We're also considering a suit for emotional damages. If you want to avoid a lengthy and very public legal battle, we're open to discussing a settlement." "A settlement?" Emily sounded outraged. "She's our mother. We're not negotiating like she's some stranger." "You treated me like a stranger when you abandoned me," I said quietly. "Now you'll treat me as a legal adversary. Goodbye." James ended the call. When he looked at me, I realized I was shaking. "You okay?" he asked gently. I nodded. "I'm just tired of being treated like I'm incapable. Like being old means I don't get to make my own decisions about my own life." "I know," he said softly, "but you're taking that power back now, and I'm going to help you every step of the way." Over the next few hours, James continued working while I rested. The hotel was nice, way nicer than Peaceful Haven, but it wasn't home. I thought constantly about my garden, my things, the house William and I had filled with so much love. Late in the afternoon, I got an unexpected visitor. Oliver, my friend from the nursing home, showed up with my small suitcase. "How'd you find me?" I asked, surprised and touched. "I've got my ways," he replied with a mysterious smile. "When you live as long as I have, you learn to recognize good people, and you learn how to track them down when they need a friend. I wanted to make sure you were all right. I invited him to sit down and ordered tea from room service. We talked about everything, our lives, our families, our regrets and hopes. I found out Oliver had been a high school English teacher before retiring. He was at Peaceful Haven by choice, after his wife passed from cancer. I didn't want to burden my kids," he explained. "They live out of state, got their own families and careers. But they call me every day, visit whenever they can. The difference is, it was my choice. Nobody forced me or tricked me. Choice," I said quietly. "That makes all the difference in the world." When Oliver left, he made me promise to stay in touch. "You're doing something important here," he said. "Standing up for yourself. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for it." The next morning, James arrived with news. "We got a temporary injunction preventing the sale of your house until the case is heard in court," he reported. "We've also requested an expert analysis of those documents you signed to prove the fraudulent intent." "How long will all this take?" I asked. "Months, probably. But given the high-profile nature of the case and the clear evidence, We should be able to speed things up. He hesitated. Also, I received an offer from your daughters. They want to make a deal. I raised my eyebrows. What kind of deal? They'll voluntarily return the house with a formal written apology if you agree to drop any legal charges and keep the whole matter out of the media. He paused. Apparently, Emily's been suspended from her job pending an ethics investigation, and Sophia's facing serious social backlash. Their reputations are taking a beating. Part of me felt satisfaction hearing that they were facing consequences. But another part, the mother who still existed somewhere deep inside, felt a pang of sadness for them. What do you think I should do? I asked. James considered carefully. Legally speaking, it's a good offer. You get your house back quickly, without a drawn-out court battle. But the decision is entirely yours. You're the one who was hurt here. I sat quietly for a moment, thinking. I'll accept their deal, I finally said. But with one additional condition. What's that? I want both of them to volunteer at a senior care facility for 1 full year. I want them to see what abandonment looks like. I want them to understand what it means to be treated as disposable just because you're old. James smiled. That's more than fair. I'll add it to the terms. 3 days later, we signed the settlement agreement. Emily and Sophia weren't there, just their lawyers. The house was officially back in my name. They agreed to the volunteer work, and just like that, legally at least, it was over. The lottery money had been deposited into my new secure account, and I was finally ready to go home. When I walked through my front door a full week after being dragged away, everything looked the same, but felt different. Same walls, same furniture, same photos on the mantel. But something fundamental had changed. Maybe it was me. I wasn't just William's widow anymore. I wasn't just Emily and Sophia's mom. I was Margaret, a woman who'd faced betrayal and come out stronger on the other side. That first night back, I sat on my back porch with a cup of tea looking at my garden. It had gotten a bit overgrown in my absence, weeds popping up between my flowers. I'll fix it tomorrow, I said out loud to the evening air. Tomorrow I'll start rebuilding, not just the garden. My whole life, my phone rang. It was Sophia. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the screen. Then I answered, Mom. Her voice sounded small, fragile. I wanted to know if you're okay, if you made it home safe. I'm fine, Sophia, I replied. Not cold, but not warm either. I'm home. Can we come see you sometime? She asked hesitantly. To talk? I took a deep breath. Maybe, someday, but not now. I need time. I understand, she said, and for the first time she actually sounded sincere. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm truly, deeply sorry for what we did. I know you are, I said. And I did know. I could hear it in her voice. Now go do your volunteer work. Learn from it. Then maybe we can talk. When I hung up, I realized I didn't feel angry anymore. Just determined. Determined to live my remaining years on my own terms, and that $5 million sitting in my bank account? I already had big plans for it. Plans that would make William proud. Plans that would help other seniors never go through what I went through. Destiny had given me a second chance, and I wasn't going to waste a single second of it. 2 months passed. 2 months of me settling back into my home, tending to my garden and planning. Always planning. The $5 million sat in my account, and every day I thought about what William would want me to do with it. He was always the generous one, always thinking about how we could help others. And now I had the means to do something really meaningful. I called James to my house one sunny February morning. I want to start a foundation, I told him as I poured coffee on my back porch. Something to help seniors who are vulnerable, especially those at risk of being abandoned or abused by their families. James nodded, a smile spreading across his face. That's a beautiful idea, Margaret. What are you thinking specifically? Free legal help for elderly folks, I said, the ideas flowing now. Education programs for families about elder care. Maybe even create better living facilities, places where seniors are treated with actual dignity and respect, not just warehoused and forgotten. It's ambitious, James said, but you've got the resources and the motivation. Let's make it happen. Over the next few weeks, we worked out all the details. I decided to call it the New Hope Foundation because that's exactly what I wanted to give people. A new beginning, just like I'd gotten. We set up the legal structure, created a mission statement, and started identifying needs in the community. I donated $2 million to get it started, keeping enough for myself to live comfortably and have a cushion for the future. One afternoon, while I was reviewing potential properties for our first community center, I got a call from Oliver. "Margaret, you gotta come down to Peaceful Haven," he said, his voice urgent. "They're shutting the place down. All of us are being moved to public facilities, and from what I hear, most of them are pretty rough." My heart sank. "What happened?" "After your story went public, families started pulling their relatives out left and right. The place's reputation tanked, owners going bankrupt. I felt a twinge of guilt, even though I knew I'd only told the truth. I'll be right there." When I arrived at Peaceful Haven an hour later, the place looked sad and empty. Staff were packing boxes. Residents sat around looking confused and scared. I found Oliver in the common room, comforting a few other elderly folks. "Margaret." He stood up when he saw me. "Thank God you came." I spent the whole afternoon there, listening to stories, taking notes, offering what comfort I could. Many of these people, like me, had been left there by families who didn't want to deal with them anymore. Others had come by choice, but now faced being moved to who knows where. By the end of the day, I'd made a decision. I met with the owner in his office. He looked defeated, exhausted. "I hear you're closing down," I said directly. He nodded miserably. "I don't have a choice. After what happened with you, and I'm not blaming you, what your daughters did was terrible. But the business just couldn't recover." "What if I bought the place?" I asked. His eyes widened. "You, what?" "I'm starting a foundation focused on elder care. This could be our first project. I'd renovate it completely, change the whole approach, make it a model for how seniors should actually be treated." We talked numbers, conditions, and vision. By the time I left, we had a preliminary agreement. I was going to buy Peaceful Haven and transform it into the headquarters of the New Hope Foundation. When I shared the news with Oliver and the residents, the relief on their faces made every penny worth it. "Nobody's getting moved," I promised them. "You're all staying right here. And things are only going to get better." The next few months were a whirlwind. James helped me finalize the purchase. We hired contractors to renovate. I brought in consultants to help redesign the programs and services. And here's the thing that surprised me most. Emily called one day and asked if she could help. "I've been doing my volunteer work at Sunrise Senior Home," she said quietly. "And Mom, I've learned so much. I've seen how seniors are treated when nobody advocates for them. I want to help with your foundation. I don't expect forgiveness or even payment. I want to do something good." I was silent for a long moment. "What about your job?" "I got fired," she admitted. "But honestly, that job was killing my soul anyway. This volunteer work, it's shown me what actually matters." I agreed to let her help, but I was watching closely. I needed to see if this change was real. A week later, Sophia called with the same request. She'd been volunteering at a memory care facility and had similar revelations. "I spent my whole life chasing money and status," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "And I threw away the person who mattered most. I can't undo what we did, Mom, but I want to spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it." Slowly, carefully, we started working together. Not as mother and daughters, not yet, but as people committed to the same mission. I watched them during those months, really watched them. Emily would spend hours with residents, listening to their stories with genuine interest. Sophia used her accounting skills to set up transparent financial systems for the foundation, refusing to take a salary. 6 months after I'd started the foundation, we had our grand reopening of what was now called the New Hope Community Center. The place was completely transformed, bright, welcoming, filled with activities and dignity. We had different levels of care: full-time residents for those who needed constant support, temporary stays for people recovering from medical issues, and a day program for seniors who still lived at home but needed companionship. Oliver became my right-hand man, using his teaching background to create educational and cultural programs. Ava, the kind caregiver from before, was promoted to Director of Resident Services. The local news covered our opening, and once again, reporters wanted my story. But this time it wasn't about revenge or betrayal. It was about transformation and hope. During one interview, the reporter asked, "Do you think you would have started this foundation if your daughters hadn't abandoned you?" I thought about it carefully. "Probably not," I admitted. "I'd probably be at home right now, living a small, comfortable life. Don't get me wrong, what they did was terrible, and it hurt more than I can explain. But from that pain came something bigger than myself. A purpose I never knew I needed. And your relationship with your daughters now?" I glanced over to where Emily and Sophia were helping residents settle into the new facility. "We're rebuilding, slowly. Trust takes time to earn back. But I see them trying, really trying to be better people. And that's a start." That evening, after all the guests had left, I gathered everyone who'd been part of making New Hope a reality. James, Oliver, Ava, Emily, Sophia, and a few key volunteers. "I just want to say thank you," I told them, feeling emotions rising in my chest. A year ago, I was at the lowest point of my life. I felt invisible, disposable, forgotten. Today, I feel like I have a purpose that matters. And it's because of all of you. Emily stood up, tears streaming down her face. "Mom, can I say something?" I nodded. "What Sophia and I did to you was unforgivable. We were selfish, greedy, and cruel. We treated you like a burden instead of the amazing woman who gave us everything." Her voice cracked. "This past year, working with seniors, seeing their struggles, hearing their stories, I finally understood what we took from you. Your home, your dignity, your trust, and I'm so sorry." Sophia stood too, holding her sister's hand. "We don't deserve your forgiveness, Mom. We know that. But we promise to spend the rest of our lives proving that we've changed. Not just to you, but to every senior we meet." I looked at my daughters, really looked at them, and saw genuine remorse. Genuine change. They weren't the same people who'd abandoned me on Christmas Eve. I stood up and walked over to them. For a moment, I just stood there. Then I opened my arms. They fell into my embrace, and we all cried, for what was lost, for what was found, for the painful journey that had brought us here. "I forgive you," I whispered. "It's going to take time to fully heal, but I forgive you." 2 years later, the New Hope Foundation had grown beyond my wildest dreams. We now had 5 community centers across the state, serving over 1,000 seniors. Our model was being studied by policymakers as an example of dignified elder care. Emily had gotten certified as a social worker and now ran our family support programs, helping families navigate the challenges of caring for aging relatives without resorting to abandonment. Sophia managed our entire operation, ensuring every dollar was spent wisely and transparently. On my 75th birthday, they threw me a surprise party at the original New Hope Center. The place was packed. Residents, staff, volunteers, and even some politicians who'd become supporters of our work. But the best surprise came when my grandson Noah showed up. He was now in college, studying gerontology. "Grandma," he said, hugging me tight, "you're the reason I chose this field. What you built here, it's incredible. You took something terrible and turned it into something beautiful." I looked around the room at all these faces, people whose lives had been touched by the foundation. Seniors who now had dignity and community, families who'd learned to care for their elderly relatives with love instead of resentment. Young people inspired to enter careers in elder care. Oliver came up beside me, now 82 and still going strong. "You did good, Margaret. Real good." "We did good," I corrected him. "All of us together." That night, back home in my garden, I sat in William's favorite chair and looked up at the stars. "We did it, honey," I whispered. That lottery ticket wasn't just luck. It was a second chance, and I didn't waste it. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Emily. "Love you, Mom. So proud to be your daughter." Then one from Sophia. "Thank you for giving us another chance. We won't let you down." I smiled, my heart full in a way I never thought possible after that dark Christmas Eve. The truth is, I'd been given an incredible gift, not the $5 million, but the opportunity to transform pain into purpose, betrayal into redemption, and loneliness into legacy. At 75 years old, I'd learned the most important lesson of my life. It's never too late to start over. It's never too late to forgive. It's never too late to build something meaningful. My daughters had made a terrible mistake, but they'd owned it, changed from it, and dedicated themselves to making amends. Our relationship would never be exactly what it was before, but it was something new, something built on honesty, respect, and shared purpose. And me? I was no longer just a woman who'd been abandoned. I was Margaret Thompson, founder of the New Hope Foundation, advocate for seniors everywhere, and proof that even our darkest moments can lead to our brightest days. The lottery ticket had changed my life, sure. But the real jackpot was discovering that I had the strength to transform tragedy into triumph. And that with courage, purpose, and a little bit of luck, anyone can write a new ending to their story. And let me tell you, mine was turning out pretty damn perfect. The end. Thank you for reading Margaret's story. Her journey from abandonment to empowerment reminds us that it's never too late for a fresh start and that forgiveness can heal even the deepest wounds. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who needs hope today.